The final confession at the end of this story is deeply disturbing, and what makes it worse is not how loud or graphic it is, but how calmly it was given, as if the person speaking believed none of it was unusual. On September 12, 1982, two off-duty police officers were hunting in a remote part of Alaska, roughly 20 miles outside Anchorage. This area was difficult to reach, and usually only accessible by plane or boat, which meant the only people who came out here were experienced hunters. As the day went on, the light started to fade, and the men realized they were still deep in the woods. Knowing it would be dangerous to stay out after dark, they decided to turn around and head back toward their camp. The terrain was rough, so they made their way down toward the Nick River and crossed along an exposed sandbar. As they walked, one of the men noticed something sticking out of the sand ahead of them. At first glance, it looked like a boot. When they got closer, they realized there was still something inside it, and it turned out to be a human leg bone. Because they were police officers, they immediately understood the seriousness of what they had found. They did not touch anything. What they did instead was they marked the location on their map, left the area, and reported it to their department. The following day, crime scene technicians were brought out to the site. They carefully unearthed the remains, which were still wearing women's clothing. While searching the surrounding area, investigators found a single shell casing. It was a .223 caliber round, a type commonly used in hunting rifles throughout Alaska. The remains were sent for autopsy, and the results showed the victim was female and had likely been dead for at least 6 months. She had died from 3 gunshot wounds, but there was something else that stood out. There were no bullet holes in her clothing, which suggested she had been shot without her clothes on and then redressed afterward. Inside the clothing, investigators also found a hospital bandage wrapped in a way that suggested it had once been around her head. Some believed she may have been blindfolded before she was killed. Dental records later identified the victim as 23-year-old Sherry Morrow. She was an exotic dancer from Anchorage who had been reported missing 10 months earlier. In her missing person report, friends said the last thing Sherry mentioned was that she had been offered $300 to have professional photographs taken, and she planned to meet the photographer shortly before she disappeared. Police strongly suspected this photographer was responsible, but they had no name, no description, and no evidence that could lead them to him. All they had was a shell casing used by countless hunters across the state. They released the details of Sherry's death to the media, hoping someone from the public would come forward with information. During the press conference, a reporter asked whether her death might be connected to other unsolved cases in the same area. 2 years earlier, 2 other women had been found nearby. One was never identified. The other was 24-year-old Joanne Messina, another exotic dancer from Anchorage. Publicly, police said they did not believe the cases were connected. Privately, some officers were not convinced. Over the past few years, young women had been disappearing from Anchorage, many of them dancers or sex workers, and the pattern was becoming difficult to ignore. Still, there was no proof. 4 months, nothing changed. Then, early in the morning on June 13, 1983, everything shifted. A man driving along a quiet Anchorage highway noticed a young woman running toward his truck. She was screaming, barefoot, and wearing no pants or shoes. Her hands were raised over her head as if she was trying to protect herself. He then pulled over and she threw herself into the passenger seat, slammed the door shut, and ducked down, trying to stay out of sight. The driver looked around but did not see anyone chasing her. He did not wait to find out what she was running from and immediately drove away. The girl was shaking so badly she could barely speak. She asked to be dropped off at a nearby motel. When she ran inside, the receptionist immediately noticed something was wrong and called the police. Officers arrived and went to the girl's room. She told them her name was Cindy Paulson and that she was 17 years old. One of her wrists was still handcuffed. They removed it and asked her what had happened. Cindy's story was disturbing, but what stood out most was how calm and composed she was while telling it. She said that the night before, she had been working the streets when a man pulled up. He was thin, bearded, wore glasses, and did not seem threatening. She did not feel afraid, so she got into his car. The moment she sat down, he handcuffed her wrist, pulled a gun, and told her to stay quiet. He drove her to a house in a nice neighborhood and led her into the basement. There, she saw a chain hanging from the ceiling. He attached her to it and assaulted her for hours. Eventually, he told her he was going to sleep and that when he returned, they would go to his cabin in the woods. If she tried to escape or make noise, he said he would kill her. Cindy remained chained there, half-dressed, waiting and trying to stay calm. When he came back, he took her upstairs and proudly showed her his hunting trophies. He talked about hunting, where he went, and how much he enjoyed it. That was when Cindy realized something important. He had shown her his face, his house, his car, and his hobbies. She understood then that she was not meant to survive. Later, he drove her to a small airport and began loading guns and supplies into his plane. While his back was turned, Cindy jumped out of the cockpit, hit the ground, and ran. She ran through the hangar into the forest and eventually onto the highway, where she flagged down the truck. The police believed her and took her to the hospital, then back to the airport, where she identified the hangar. The plane was still there. An airport security guard told officers he had noticed the owner acting suspiciously the night before and had written down his license plate number. The owner was a local man named Robert Hansen, a successful bakery owner. Police visited his home and it matched Cindy's description exactly, but Hansen claimed he had been with friends. Those friends confirmed his story. When asked to take a lie detector test, Cindy refused and doubt returned. Months later, another body was found. 17-year-old Paula Golding, another dancer. Another .223 shell casing. Ballistics confirmed both women were killed with the same rifle. An FBI profiler was brought in. The profile described a man in his 40s, well-liked, successful, an avid hunter, someone who blended in easily. It fit Robert Hansen perfectly. A search warrant was issued. Inside his home, police found a map marked with dozens of XS, a rifle, and jewelry belonging to Sherry Morrow. Hansen's alibi collapsed soon after. Faced with the evidence, Hansen confessed. What he admitted to was horrifying. He hunted women. He let them run. Then he killed them. Police confirmed 17 victims. Many believe there were more. Robert Hansen died in prison in 2014, taking the rest of the truth with him. What do you think about this case? Do you believe it was always planned, or did it grow over time? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you want more true crime stories told slowly and with care, subscribe and turn on notifications. This is The Final Silence. Thank you for listening.